I think we're going. Oh, I should have grabbed more water. I think we're live right now. I think so. But I will double check. But anyways, hello everyone. Welcome. Tonight we're going to be talking about scary possible future stuff. You know.
Gonna be riffing a little.
Yeah. This is again, I tend to shoot off the hip, but Betsy has also brought some information in.
Yeah.
But anyways, so but we want to, as per usual, I have a little bit of a couple of news stories, but one of them is quite interesting. And I think what I'll do this time is I will allow Betsy to read it because I don't know if she's heard about this one.
Probably not. It's been a busy week for me, so I haven't been able to look at all the fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with your new job and your new stuff.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. All right. But anyway, so all right. I'll show it up here on the thing real quick. Okay. Betsy,
Oh no.
I want you. This is a story that is made for you.
I hate this story already, and I've barely read the headline.
Okay. Sorry, Betsy's doing some on the stuff.
The headline reads, more than 500 hospitalized from scorpion stings after storm in Egypt. So it's not a scorpion storm, but apparently this storm
Scorpion NATO. Imagine the picture
flying through the air. Kill me.
The cover of that hot DVD.
Forget it. But there were storms that forced scorpions from their hiding places into many houses across the Aswan province. Those who were treated were discharged after they received anti-venom doses. So this happens in Cairo. Heavy rain and flooding in southern province in Egypt have left 3 people dead and more than 500 others hospitalized from scorpion stings. Downpours, hail, and thunder in the province of Aswan over the weekend forced local authorities to suspend school classes Sunday.
This is a gosh dang scary movie. This is 100% a scary movie.
I found a scorpion one time in my house. Now, anytime it rains, I'm going to be thinking about other scorpions possibly finding their way.
Like they're trying to get out of the cold. You know what, Betsy?
Into my house.
You're warming them up. You're letting them in.
The storms forced scorpions from their hiding places into many homes across the province. 503 people were hospitalized after suffering scorpion stings. Ay. No. No.
Yeah, that is. Could you imagine that? I mean, just all the scorpions flooding in.
Nope. That's when you just start packing up. You buy a ticket. Just leave your belongings. They may have scorpions in them. Just leave them behind. Head for high ground.
Okay. So, yeah, that is honestly like a late 80s, maybe all through the 90s, early 2000s scary. Remember that tarantula movie, that spiders movie that
Arachnophobia.
Came out? Yeah.
Yes, I remember it.
Yeah. So, the meat and potatoes of today's show, and there's more news stories, obviously, but the meat and potato of it is what came out of Facebook. I'm just sizing this up, and I think we should play a little bit of this, and we might jump fast forward through it and everything else because it might end up being a little bit long, but I think we should.
He looks like a robot. He's made of plastic.
Don't be dogging on data. Don't be dogging on data.
It does look like Tatum.
I honestly, like, if I was
Like
close
he's
to
been
him,
replaced.
I would want to hear him blink. Does it sound like servos? Is there like a pneumatic air release when he moves? But anyways, so Mark Zuckerberg announced, and it sounds like the name has kind of been backed off. That's because the name's owned by somewhere else.
Ay.
But the direction is still there. And I guess we may as well play it a little bit and allow Mr. Zuckerberg
Old Zuck
to talk to us.
I believe the metaverse is the next chapter for the internet, and it's the next chapter for our company too. So I've been thinking a lot about what this means for our company and who we are as we embark on this journey.
Now, I think this is interesting. Facebook's already moving towards enveloping more. You know, it started out as just a place where you could exchange pictures and send like direct messages, but now it's messaging app. I'll bet next to text messages is the most popular app. And then it went into video communication, which I would almost, aside from like if two parties have an iPhone, that's probably, you know, the most popular, but that's within that genre. But as a general overall, I'll bet is FaceTime is probably carries the most value and the most use. So we'll go on a little more.
Company that focuses on connecting people. While most other tech companies focus on how people interact with technology, we focus on building technology so people can interact with each other. One of the reasons I started Facebook was that at the time you could use the internet to find almost anything. Information, news, movies, music, shopping, except for the thing that matters most of all, people. Today, we are seen as a social media company, but in our DNA, we are a company that builds technology to connect people.
Hold on.
And the metaverse is the...
He
said
just said
DNA?
DNA.
Okay. All right. Just double checking.
He did
You know, I mean,
out loud.
what would DNA mean in the Android phone?
Oh,
Direct, neurotic. I don't know. Anyway.
next frontier, just like social networking was when we got started.
Well, okay. You know that VR headset, the Oculus Quest? Now, Facebook owns Oculus, which was a smart move on Facebook's part. They've been building towards this.
Yeah.
So Oculus came out. Oculus was a standalone company at first. And now Facebook has purchased Oculus. You know, I bought one. Well, I bought 2 or 3 now. And, you know, I got one for my nephew. And so when they interact with this is Facebook. So this is building towards this.
I find it interesting that he goes on both in his opening and throughout this presentation to claim that he's connecting people when in actuality but social media sites, virtual reality actually further disconnect.
They tend to do that, and I don't know if we could argue that's by design, but the dystopia comes later.
Okay.
Let's
let the android talk.
Facebook was
Let
born
data run
in a specific time and place. A college campus, a web. It was what we could build at the time to put people back into our experience of technology. But connecting people was always much bigger. From way earlier on, I remember sitting in middle school classes, sketching in my notebooks, ideas that I wanted to code when I got home. And even though I didn't have the skill or technology to build it yet, it was always clear that the dream was to feel present with the people we care about.
All right.
Isn't that the ultimate promise of technology? To be together with anyone, to be able to teleport anywhere, and to create and experience anything? Yet here we are in 2021, and our devices are still designed around apps, not people. The experiences we're allowed to build and use are more tightly controlled than ever. And high taxes on creative new ideas are stifling.
He's setting this up. He's setting this up as a way of softening the blow.
Well, and maybe and
Like really, like, and Meta has created a cryogenic pod for you to climb in.
well, for
I
the
mean-
initial purposes, let's say that he is doing this honestly. Just he wants to bring this technology forward. That he is just kind of that way. Let's say that. So, anyways, he goes on. I've had enough watching the video. He goes on and he talks about how they're going to have a meetup thing. So, like after work, instead of stopping by the bar or
Oh no.
you'll go into your VR headset and meet up with your friends, which if you look at it, I mean, that would be pretty cool to be able to, like, say when our brother was deployed, to be able to hop on and meet up with him and spend an hour just, visiting, kind of what you see a face to face. And don't worry, we'll get to the dystopia, folks. But, there's lots of things. So it won't just be about games. It won't just be about holding a phone as an interface or an interface on the computer. It will become where it feels like it's an a live in-person interface. You go up and meet your friends, and then, and games obviously will be incorporated into that. So you might have a sports meetup, bowling or whatever that swallows you in. You're all consumed by it. You saw what it was like in that VR headset when you're in the waiting room or kind of the lobby, how you look around, and for anyone who watching this who has used the VR, it's really,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interactive. You can manipulate stuff, and they're building gloves right now so your hands are used as that, and also it has areas on the glove that give you the impression of contact while it's doing it. So
this is not a good idea.
Not yet.
This
But-
is a terrible idea.
So they've got all these things going, but I thought, as my Alex Jones addled mind will, where could this go negative?
all the ways.
Where could this go awry? And so I thought we'd tease out a few of those thoughts, a few of those ideas.
All the ways.
So let's
as a species, an entire species, we are designed to live in groups and communicate face to face and connect with one another face to face. And the more opportunities we have to pull away from that, the less human we become.
Well, and this is tying all those documentaries I always speak about together.
Yes.
I mean, we've got The Matrix.
Documentary.
We've got Demolition Man. We've got all these documentaries are tied together. Three Seashells, all that stuff. Anyways, so, hey, James, how you doing? So what I want to throw in there is, okay, let's do like maybe a brief timeline. So Metaverse comes alive. A couple of meetup places are built on the interwebs. And you jump on and you go and meet your friends and everything else in the metaverse, and that becomes popular. And I think step one, or let's call it step two, is when people are employed in the metaverse.
It's coming.
They're like it's
especially because we all just went. I mean, almost an entire society just went remote.
Well, yeah, but like you're employed there, like you clock into work by going into the metaverse,
right? And it looks like an office, and you look around and you see your coworkers, and you can talk real time.
Or maybe it's a like a bar in the meetup, and people got tired of NPC interaction being in there. So you go in and you're a bartender in the metaverse. Or
we become the people off of Wall-E.
We're getting that. But, that becomes your day in, day out job. And so then to match up to that, different businesses start building equipment to meet up with that, like these new gloves that are being built, like they've got movement pads for the VR where you stand kind of in this ring and the floor moves under your feet.
Yeah, you
So
can
that-
run.
So when you're running and it's responsive to you in there. And so you start moving that way. And then
Then they have to hook you up to a feeding tube.
yeah, then you get the feeding tube and catheters and things like that involved, like extended time stays. And after that, then you start maybe seeing a procreation happenings because these pods you end up moving into maybe have the ability to incorporate the other activities that
Then you
people
have
are
a little
prone to do.
android baby.
So you have well, maybe not Android baby. What if these pods are
Don't say it.
extract your actual stuff?
Don't say it. You said it.
The Demolition Man, that's how they did it. They
I know.
procreated with the VR headset on in that documentary. So then they start so think, pretty soon the human contact stops going away. At least the real human contact, and maybe the metaverse becomes more real. Maybe maybe it moves towards more dating there. I mean, there's lots of statistics. I mean, right now the statistics are that young men are maintaining their virginity longer. They're maintaining like the averages into their early 20s, which when we were in high school, unheard of, impossible.
Yeah, didn't happen.
17, those guys were a prude. And now they're maintaining it longer. And they're the meetups and everything else. I mean, we've got, kids are starting relationships and falling in love, playing video games together and everything else. So this just moves us more towards that. And if Zuckerberg doesn't do it, someone else is going to.
Well, I think if you create it, it will naturally happen.
Well,
Because I mean, with the introduction of just social media, outdoor activities went down within the first 5 years
except for
by
last year.
60%.
Now, this has been a tie-in that I don't know the exact, I haven't done enough research to know about, but outdoor activities went up the last year and a half.
Yeah, and I think that's like a rebellion almost.
I think that's because that was all that you could do.
Well, I think if they say you must stay inside, everyone was like, no,
Well,
we'll find things to do outside.
It was part of rebellion, part the need to leave, and part the businesses were restricting and closing off. And people were probably, some number were probably afraid of catching the virus.
I went hiking during COVID, and people were hiking in full freaking
I know.
masked, like you're in
We don't
the
need
woods.
to dig into what else they've been doing. And that might be a sales point. Look, you move into Meta and you're safe.
Oh,
You're kept safe. Now,
the only safe place is Meta. Stay in your home, join the metaverse.
But you know what else? And this is another side point. Another time that outdoor activities became popular was during the recession under Jimmy Carter. So does economic turmoil have stuff to do with it?
Oh, I'd imagine.
So that's where you have your questions.
Because I think people try to fill the void. So if you're out of work, you really only have a couple of options. You can find ways to enjoy your time.
It's
that
not
don't
just out of
cost
work.
anything.
Even people who still maintain their jobs started camping more. It could be down to when you start feeling insecure, you start wanting to get in touch with your more
primal being.
Learning, maybe trying out some, honing up some skills that you body feels it might need it. It could be all sorts of things, you know. But anyway, so you've got the meta being built, and I want to, and are these dystopian? I think we're heading that way.
We're dipping
anyway.
a toe.
Here's the dystopian. We got a couple of different thoughts. Let's go dystopian one. The basic, the one that's on everyone's lips right now is this Agenda 2030. And before that was Agenda 2021. And I need to go back and read that again to see if we're living in that now.
Or if it's played out, we've moved on.
Well, Agenda 2021 was supposed to be like phase 4 of this plan we're in. So, you know, get the humans locked up and segregate, you know, and we're fighting more than ever, whatever else. But I need to read it again because I am not fresh on that. That was in like 2015. I started looking into that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so what if depopulation is too messy, too hard, and too many people have guns? But how much resources do we use if they convince a certain number of us to jump in a pod?
Oy.
And they're feeding us Ensure, calories are down because we're not moving. Maybe you can maybe there's different levels of pods. There's just the live-in pod, and then there's the
Executive pod.
Yeah, you know, mid-range pod that also includes the accoutrement to have relations in. And then there's a pod that maybe massages you and tries to keep your muscles a little vibrant and everything else, you know. But what if people, they offer that to move into a pod? And then, you know how in the scary stories, they always talk about how they're going to move us all into cities. And like on Judge Dredd, everyone lives in cities. And then the Outlanders, the crazy people, live outside of it. But what if the cities aren't cities what we think, but what if they're like pod complexes?
Yeah, storage facilities.
And I mean, you get to sell all of your stuff. It can all be replaced and made better, and you move in and you live your life
In a pod.
in the simulation.
Would you sign up for that?
I don't know what would be in there. I mean, you could go in there and they say, okay, you sell all your stuff, maybe a one-time fee, or maybe like on that documentary, The Matrix, part of your
I love the way you just say it.
part of your biologic, like you sell yourself in there to be a part of a biological battery to operate other stuff, where they figure out how to steal electrons from your body to power other stuff. And so you get to live a life in there. You know, maybe, I don't know how that would work, but you get to live your life in there. Maybe you pay more to live your life a little better, but I mean, that would be where like a communist ideal could survive, because that's a zero scarcity environment. The only scarcity is what's maintained on the outside.
So, as a rule of thumb, if the guy who creates the pod doesn't get in the pod first, you should probably not get in the pod.
Well, he doesn't let his kids use Facebook.
Right, and he doesn't vaccinate.
Shocker. Anyways, but so there's one possible dystopian future, is that they use
easily, I'm telling you, you like the Pied Piper, you could play your little tune and droves of people would follow.
Oh, lots of people would sign up today.
Right now.
Lots of people. We'd probably lose. I mean, the hard part would be to keep an eye on your 11-year-old son so that he didn't sneak in.
Oh, he would totally sneak in.
Yeah. All they had to say was, you look like a roadblock in here. Done.
Yeah. All right.
Where do I sign up?
But I think if you're struggling, a lot of Americans are, a lot of people in the world are, or I think if you are suffering from a health issue, I think if you, perhaps are lonely, that's a third of the world's population right there.
Oh, yeah.
You could be sold this beautiful, picturesque lifestyle that all you'd have to do is let them collect, energy from you, and you would live inside this universe.
Would that make you happy? And then here's the next question. Inside of that simulation, suicide and murder and all that stuff wouldn't exist anymore.
Right.
But then again, wouldn't. Like some of the harsher realities of life, like the big R word, the forced sexual activity. How would could that, I could see where on the basic breakdown of it would still happen, but
you could still experience it mentally, but the physical part of it would be removed.
Unless they have these executive pods, these pods that are all inclusive, I guess you would say. But how would things like that work? Would there be police officers in the metaverse after so much time in criminality? Would there be, and the police officers would pretty much only have to be there to police, because there wouldn't be assaults, wouldn't happen anymore. I mean, there's no physical impact that harms you, unless we find out all those scary movies we watched in the 80s where if your body dreams it, it really happens.
Mm-hmm.
But where it would be mostly for mean words and hurt feelings.
That would be the woke verse.
That would be the dominant of your police. But you would also have them for maybe, I think that the R word would still be a thing. That one, I think, because that one has not only the physical damage that may not carry over, but it has a psychological damage that would.
Mm-hmm.
It has a psychological damage that, regardless of taking the physical away, I think would still remain. But so it just keeps amplifying. I've been thinking about this all week. Where does it end? So that could be a depopulation tactic. What if you buy the package where you get to breed, a husband and wife, and babies are born in these little pods, and they really don't birth the baby. They just pop in an NPC.
Okay, so what if you buy into this, you climb in the pod, lights out?
Or they just decide to shut you off.
Yeah. I mean,
now here's another big
would
question.
You know? They could create an avatar of you and program it with all of your things, and you could live within the metaverse without, but then again, depopulation would become unnecessary if a third of the population climbed in.
That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't have to depopulate. They could just let you live your idyllic life in the metaverse. These
giant storage facilities, like 30 stories high or 30 stories
deep. With big
deep.
squid robots walking around tending to them, and it's dark and cloudy, and there's like red glow under the ground coming up, and everything is, lightning and
you're covered with goo to keep your skin from drying out.
You're in like a green fluid with hoses and tubes. But anyways, here's the next one. Okay. Now we've had past life regressionists on. We've had people who talk about what do you call it when you're reborn? I don't know. I'm sorry, folks. I'm bad with words. Reincarnation.
Yeah, you're reincarnated.
People. Okay. What if this has already happened?
It could have.
Okay, so we've talked about the simulation, that we're simulated beings and everything else.
What if it's happening because of panspermia somewhere else already?
Yeah, but what if this has already happened here on Earth, and people who signed into the pod say the first go around, they said, okay, we're starting you back over in, pick a date, we're going to start you back over in the 1960s in the sexual revolution, and all that. And then a life is lived.
What if we're in it?
What if we are a simulation in a meta that is about to start another simulation, and we're born and live our lives in these pods, and our bodies, like, this is a tactile thing. We're in a pod somewhere, but this is a thing that's running on, and then inside the simulation, another simulation is made by someone who's in the simulation and doesn't know they're in the simulation.
Data.
And then you get simulationception. You get the simulation within a simulation, and how many times can this repeat? And how many times does this can this go on? And maybe that's not so dystopic. That's like pie in the sky, crazy guy talk.
Maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not. And I still like the simulation theory, just holds too much. Like, maybe they went back to the 90s. And the reason I say that is we've got the Mandela effect everywhere. And that seems to really hit hard mid-90s. Some of it's earlier, but the mid-90s is when that fog sets in.
Yeah. When there seems to have been a shift in what we know versus what we are told now.
The great forgetting. And what if the Simpsons writers have figured out a way to see through to the other simulation?
They broke through the matrix. They had the red pill.
They're saying, or they're the ones who run the simulation. They own it. But anyways, so
they're running an experiment.
Yeah.
Like, if we give them enough information, will they figure out that they're actually in pods? And this is their third reincarnation into this simulation.
And that's the reincarnation thing. What if you're cycled in the pod, your thoughts are cycled up and reset, like into the motherboard. And then, hey, this one we need to do an update, and then whoop, right back in. Mm-mm. They wipe the subcontext of the code and pop the code.
I'm going to have terrible dreams tonight. I'm going to have terrible dreams.
So all these, and the crazy part about that is, if we are in a simulation, your child is also a simulation who is in a simulation.
Oh.
Your mom, your dad, everything.
So anyone that you've lost could have just been recycled.
What if they pull people into these pods, and to save the Earth, they shoot these pods into outer space on a spaceship or on a satellite to circle a Dyson sphere around the sun, so that powers the pods that they live on forever?
Oh. I don't like this train of thought.
Why not?
Because it's going to give me nightmares.
I got another quick news story. I think we better ease off of that. And we want anyone who's watching, if you have thoughts about this,
don't think about it.
We've got a couple people.
Listen, if that is the case, there's nothing we can do. So we should probably give it no more thought.
After this news story, I want to go through what someone sent in here real quick. But so we got another news story for Betsy.
Oh no.
Now, I've got to resize it while we talk about it, but there has been an invention. Now, there has been
an invention?
Or, well, I mean, they're holding a real tactile thing in the picture. But this has been a gripe amongst females for quite a while. So, Rebecca Weiss designs ultrasound-powered male contraceptive device. It's called COSO. And for those watching, you can see the picture on the screen. It looks like a shallow cup. You know, oblong shape, kind of around the rim of it. So, German design graduate Rebecca Weiss has won a James Dyson Award for a male contraceptive device called COSO, which uses ultrasound waves to temporarily halt sperm regeneration. Weiss's COSO device is designed to be a reversible contraceptive solution. To use it, a person would fill the device with water up to the indicated mark, just like you would with your cup of noodles.
It's like a jewelry cleaner for your boys.
Turn it on so it heats up to its operating temperature, and just give it a little dip, a little tea bag, a little dip. You know.
Okay.
Slide the gentleman into the pool.
Who's going to use this?
Ultrasound waves temporarily halt sperm regeneration with contraceptive effectiveness beginning 2 weeks after the first application. So it sounds like what it does is it shuts off the testes from making the sperm, but the sperm that already exists are just dizzy, but they still can make it happen. The effect is reversible, with fertility expected to return no later than 6 months after last application. Weiss began designing the male contraceptive device after being diagnosed with cervical cancer precursor that meant she could no longer take the pill. This lady, they came out and told her, you can't take the pill. And she said, I am not using a condom. And she went to work.
What she did is she was like, babe, I need you to test this. Dip. I need you to dip.
They should make it so that when you dip in, it makes a little sound like boop. But anyway, so you fill it up with water. For those watching, you can see they've got a technical breakdown. It's like a speaker, I think, or something.
It does look like a speaker.
It looks like a Bluetooth speaker. And you just kind of sit there, spend 10 minutes with your boys at the pool, and then wait, a couple weeks, and then you're ready to go, ready to party. But I have a few questions about this long-term use. So it says 6 months, no later than 6 months after last application. So that means you'd probably want to.
What is this, like every day, 10 minutes a day?
You would probably want to use this, I would imagine, monthly, but the question is, and there's a lot of designs that are coming out, how to they haven't been able to make a pill for men because it's always had destruction with it. It's always had impotence or permanent
So does the women's.
Now the women's
Let's just get that right out there.
There are some studies that are showing that the hormonal pill causes a lot of issues in women's, not just their physical body, but their mind, and because you're flushing hormones into your body.
And they're synthetic hormones. They're not bioavailable. So they cause cancer, they cause all kinds of issues with your hormone imbalance. They cause sometimes permanent infertility. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would argue that same argument, well, we haven't found one that actually works, goes for the pill as well.
Yeah. Attempts to make male contraceptive pill were abandoned after they caused side effects, even though they were arguably no worse than those caused by the female contraceptive pill. The one thing they almost universally caused was the inability for performance, flaccidness, permanent flaccidness, and
they do the same for females.
And I'm sure they do, but
now you can just go for a dip.
Female flaccidness is a lot different in that context of male. And I'm not trying to be sexist, and I don't want to get into details with my sister, but that is a huge thing.
Mechanically, it is different.
Way mechanically. And that'd be a big study since since the little blue pill came out, has it affected suicide rates? Has it affected marriage rates? You know, things like that. Those are things to study. And and I know that I don't like getting involved in the feminist fight. But anyways, I'm wondering what long-term use of this would do. You know, I mean, would it be the same if you cut a little hole in the top of the door of your microwave and just drop the boys in there and close the door and hit it for what? 15 seconds, just kind of went for a little inner sizzle or something, you know, end up with bacon bits or whatever it is. But yeah, you know, a lot of questions. But I like where her head's at. They gave her a problem and she went for a solution, went right for it. Rebecca Weiss. Yeah, that's. I worry that this would become permanent.
Yeah, Doc Connector says temporary, which becomes permanent.
That's what I'm thinking. Continual
Yeah.
use, would it become permanent? Would it become now? And maybe that might not be a bad thing if people seek out that permanence. And there's probably a guide, and as they test it,
And it probably makes the tank get smaller and smaller.
everything makes that tank smaller. It's plastic. You don't want to be dipping the boys directly in plastic. You don't want the grundle. You don't want
grundle.
You don't want the boy grundle to get shorter than 3 inches. I believe that doctor lady said on Joe Rogan. Anyways.
And then after you've zapped them for so long, what happens when they come back alive? And do they, you know, create appropriate humans? Or,
Yeah.
or-
There's another big question. Do you come out with some
yeah,
deformed swimmers? You know, maybe they only make laps and
yeah.
don't do a marathon
So
run.
many questions.
Yeah. All right. Let's go through a couple of comments. Then I think we should kind of spitball some more dystopian possibilities.
I don't like the metaverse dystopian possibility
Doc-
because that one people would just sign up for.
A lot of people would, but
Most dystopian theories or ideas come from like these big disastrous events or natural disasters and how we respond.
But would that be a bad thing? Definitely, if people were given the freedom, like
I don't
A
know.
lot
That's
of-
the problem.
a lot of people that are unhappy with the way the let's just say we're in the U.S. We're going to go U.S. centric. There's a lot of people that are unhappy with the way that the U.S. operates now. They want a different economic or political model or something else. And if they were offered, so right now, instead of going out and rioting, they were offered a chance to say, look, we'll give you something different. We'll give you this world you want. And you know, they could check into a place where
Would you need money?
there is no money. There is no
Yeah.
there is no gender. There is no 9-to-5 workplace.
Yeah,
There
what
is
if you
no-
could? What if you could decide?
What if you had crazy people who want to go to like a warfare place, like a hell world? Like they want to live in a hellscape.
What if that's what we chose?
That's a big question. And I do want to chat about that a little bit at the end of this. All right. Doc Connector says Zuckerfeller should just admit they want to kill everyone and put them in the metaverse. What if they don't want to kill you? What if they want to use your bioenergy to fuel the metaverse?
I would argue that joining the metaverse, you would forfeit your humanity because you would be joining into a coded way of living versus defining your own.
Yeah.
And part of humanity is finding your way, finding your own moral code.
Yeah, just imagine the salesman comes by. He's got a brown overcoat on, a cheesy,
I have to cover Tucker's ears.
cheesy
No,
striped
you can't
tie,
hear him.
got a little fedora on, and he's like, look at the packages we offer. You know, he's got a folder with all the different pamphlets and packages.
Yeah, I can't even
He's like,
hide the fact that there are times in my life where I would have signed up.
yeah, like he accidentally drops the Roblox package pamphlet
Kicks it towards
just
Tucker.
under the couch where it just pokes out where a little guy noticed. or and the commercials that had come across on his YouTube gameplay videos, would be, look at the metaverse for kids. This is a world where it's nothing but playgrounds and Roblox. Build your own world, or they would say, race car metaverse or whatever. I mean,
Junkyard metaverse.
Yeah,
Our
and-
dad would leave. He would skip.
well, he'd come right back out and say, you guys ain't competing. You guys ain't bringing it. You need to bring it. You got this fender wrong on that 1923, whatever. It was wrong. I got to come here, Zuck. Come here. Let me break this down for you. Now, on those fenders, they got a particular roll right at the back.
It's a scary thought because evolution is forced by challenge.
What if this is the next evolution?
It would be anti-evolution because there would be no more challenges. We wouldn't have to evolve as a species.
But
we
this
would wither away.
This might be the evolution.
That would be terrible.
You ready for another dystopian thought? This
No.
one's in the opposite direction.
Okay.
That the wealthy are able to buy into this.
And they leave?
And
Sign them up.
in this metaverse, they learn how to export their thoughts, their memories, their essence. Essence and metaverse sounds totally different after what we just talked. Anyways, they learn how to pull all that in and put it in bionic bodies, and they let the earth just decay behind them. They just consume the resources as fast as they can while we,
Are trying to figure out what they're doing.
while we live in the stacked trailer houses of Ready Player One. And they just consume and use it, and they become invincible.
I just unplug them like they did in iRobot.
But what if you can't unplug them? What if there's not a plug? What if they pulled themselves out of, and what if both things happen at once? That the people, the normal people who sign up become the batteries for the
Super wealthy.
Mr. Gates and
So it would be just like it is now. We signed up for that.
I didn't sign up for any of this.
How would you know?
That's a good point. I may be perpetually signed up. We might be a simulation inside of a simulation, building a simulation. I know. Yeah. Say that 3 times fast. But yeah, well, I mean, this could be. And what if, the ultra wealthy get their mechanical bodies and export themselves off Earth and just let Earth decay underneath us? So we're talking at least, 6-8 months in the future before any of this happens. But
This will become a documentary.
I mean,
watched by others in the simulation.
it'll start out slow. It'll start out creeping.
Yeah, like a name change. It'll just be simple.
No, it'll start out creeping like you'll get a call from a friend of yours who lives far away, who you haven't seen in a while, and they'll be like, hey, your son's got a VR headset. I've got a VR headset. Let's meet up in this VR lounge that there is. And you pop into it, and there's a picture of them, a picture of you. It might even, you might see like a high school reunion, a 40-year reunion when everyone looks exactly as they did in high school. That little ego boost of that and reliving that. And so you might want to do it just for that novelty, just an hour, pop in, or 2 hours, They figure out how to, maybe they have sensory plugs that go in and can manipulate your brain, like give you the sense of that steak you're eating tastes like steak, or
You could become anything you wanted.
Yeah.
For the right price.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you'll have affairs that pop up in there, and romantic relationships that start in there, and meeting up with old friends like we just covered, or a fishing trip or a hunting trip. Maybe you want to see a long extinct animal, or things like that. Like say a dentist in Chicago wants to hunt the extinct Tyrannosaurus Rex and not be bummed out, but then you'll have a granola twingy activist who
Would never
wants
happen.
to be an activist for a pretend T-Rex hunter, and they've been tired of standing outside the teenage boys' house that are playing video games screaming about how they're killing the imaginary monster that should be protected, whatever. Yeah, they can form this possibility for everyone. What if you could build your own metaverse exactly as you want it, and you're under control of it,
and people could come visit you, and then
people came to like you had the meta street, which is just kind of a blank street. I imagine a blue sidewalk,
and you buy a spot
and
of intellectual property,
and they walk in like walking into a website, and it's built the way you want it. It functions the way you want it. The dogs eat cat food. The cats eat dog food. I know we
need lions.
We're all rooting for.
We are becoming weak, dude, as a species.
I'm telling you, Betsy, I've been saying forever, humans need wolves to start eating us again. But aside from that, imagine, and
everyone would buy into it.
But the scary thing is what they can do on the outside.
Yeah.
Like there was a story 2 years ago about a lady who was, shooting off the hip. Haven't read this before. There was a lady who was a prison guard, but on her days off, she would read the obituaries.
Okay.
So
I'm following you.
For funeral days.
Oh.
So she could go rob houses. Yeah. So Dot Connector, stop giving Zuck ideas. Believe me, he's thought about all this. I'm just riffing. I am not smart. I'm not smart enough to give anyone ideas.
Zuck is data.
Yeah.
So
I know. Dude, he cruised around on the Enterprise. He's seen other worlds. Now, he did miss out on watching Captain James T. Kirk get with the green alien, but, he's seen it all. But imagine, like they build a Dyson sphere around the sun, and you sign up for the pod, and they put you on the rocket ship, the Zuckerberg 39, whatever they call it. They shoot you up and you link up with the Dyson sphere, and that's where your life exists then. And then the ultra wealthy get to keep a pristine earth to themselves, while all of us useless eaters go to the sun. And
our humanity will be the final frontier in that type of dystopia.
What if our next evolution is becoming a mix of man and machine?
Oh.
Like the Borg.
Yeah, artificial intelligence and Borgs and things make me really nervous.
What if that's our next humanity, or our next iteration is to move towards, it starts out with just a little body part replacement here, maybe, wounded soldiers, people in car wrecks, and then eventually it becomes elective surgery. I want that robot hand because it would do this better or do that better. I want those robot legs, maybe because I've got bad knees, or maybe just because I want to run faster. And then you'll have leagues, sports leagues,
They'll
like you'll
start
have
allowing it. They'll
the
be
NFL
separate.
and then you'll have
the B NFL,
yeah,
the Borg NFL.
Yeah, tennis players, those two sisters that bark real loud when they swing it.
The Venus sisters or whatever.
Yeah, I think Venus was one of their first names. I forget their last name. I'm so sorry, guys. But anyways, you'll have leagues that you join. Where like they hit a tennis ball with the racket, and the racket's like heavy reinforced stuff, and boxing and MMA fighting. I mean, these will be extreme stuff. And when it first starts happening, some people argue, oh, they're the same people. It doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
like they are now, like when this is going to be an offensive opinion, but I don't think that humans that existed as a male into their 30s should be able to become a female and then beat up females. Now, I understand a lot of females are okay with it because it is a test for them.
Sure.
And honestly, I shouldn't have an opinion because, one, I'm not a female doing it, and I am not an MMA fighter. I am not any of those things, so I should just sit back and ignore it and whatever else. But what concerns me about that is that eventually the females will be pushed out of
Their sports.
what they built.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
Just like when we talked about old
And I'm completely pro be whatever you want to be.
Oh yeah, sure.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I don't want to get in the way of anything, but eventually you'll have where
there will be no females, no natural born females in female sports at the top.
Yeah. It'll get to where I don't want to think of it. I don't want to think of it as it's, men looking an advantage, but it's hard not to.
Yeah, it's hard to understand the drive or the motivation.
How mad do you have to be at your mom to want to become a woman to beat up women? I shouldn't have said that. That was wrong.
I mean, I don't venture a guess at what the motivation is, but I don't think the motivation matters.
Good point. That is all of that stuff. But imagine, I mean, where does it go? I guess it could go with the whims. And what if they just suck you into that pod and
we need to drain the lock.
It's like
and release the wolves.
It's like life after death. What if they lie you into it? Oh, everyone, this is so great.
Right.
But they pull your consciousness out and let your physical body die.
Ew. Yeah. Yeah.
Or what if they have a definite
and
number?
who controls it, and what are the regulations, and can you get out if you choose to? And I mean,
they go off the Georgia Guidestone numbers. This is the numbers we
Yeah.
want. And once so many people signed up, so that's all that's left. Or so many people sign up.
they
and
do
say,
a lottery
and they
to
say,
let one person out after someone dies to keep you at the Georgia Guidestone.
Or they just say they pull people in and you quit breeding when you go in there. So you quit adding numbers. And then they just got to keep pulling people and just keep it alive long enough and perfect long enough to where we meet those numbers and we've got those people committed. And then then
I'm telling you,
accidentally,
this is not going to be a difficult task if they ever take it on.
and then one of Zuckerberg's aides accidentally walks through the warehouse and tripped on the power cord.
Dang
Wouldn't you
it.
know it? It's just it's just
It was an unfortunate turn of events.
soupy fluid everywhere. Oh, the horror, the atrocity. We're so sorry. Numbers are here now.
Okay, so I would take alien invasion over this any day of the week. I would. Bring them on.
So
This is a scary thought.
and I think the scary part about
especially
it,
if this is the slow march towards it with the way that Zuck is trying to put this metaverse
here's
together.
the scary part
Because
about
he's missing human connection and calling it human connection.
I think he's always missed human.
Yeah.
Here's
It's like he doesn't get it.
here's the scary parts about it for me. Scary one, it's on us. It's here.
Yeah.
We see the first steps of like people talk about alien invasions, but we're not seeing, spaceship
Ships
coming over
landing,
the horizon or, anything like that. Now, the other scary one, of course, was the virus dystopian story that we had a few months ago. And that is on our WowPod one. No, actually, we did one on YouTube, but we've got a more direct one on wowpod.com. It's our subscriber show. It's free to subscribe. So jump over to thewildpod.com. And if, give it a listen. There's I think only right now, only one subscriber show on there.
At a time.
But this one, I don't think we'll ever pull off and put mainstream. We might go to Castos after about 8 months, but by then it'll just be like we're reporting a news show.
That's right.
The
It
truth
will have
is
happened.
coming out. But I mean, this is, but we see this coming. We see it building, and we don't know where it's going. We know what they say they're going to do with it. And I'm sure Zuckerberg didn't start Facebook saying, I'm going to do this, and it's going to get everyone politically misaligned and cause more disassociation within the nation. I think it's still, I revert back to this is just the Gutenberg press, and we're going through the civil war that happens after every new form of communication starts. That's what I revert to, but I could be, let's just say I'm probably wrong, because again, I'm a moron.
We don't know his motivation either. But his motivation doesn't matter.
And what if in the simulation, he is a program that's sent in to start the next simulation to cull the simulation herd?
Yeah. Yeah, what if the last simulation didn't have enough controls in place? And so they send in data to fix it?
No, Betsy. What if they only have so much storage capacity? And we're getting ready to meet capacity. So he has started a new simulation to pull us out of this one onto the next storage device. They've got a new computer, but they just can't pop in a floppy disk and pull us out. I mean, that's what happened when the flood happened. That was the floppy disk incident. They told Noah, we'll leave you on here. We're going to pull it off. And they started a new simulation somewhere else with everyone else. But then on the old one, the story of the flood happened. They're like, well, it wasn't a flood. I mean, we just had to, we just kind of had to move you to a bigger system. We had the old 3 gigabyte whatever computer, and we need to move you to the bigger one. But we left one guy behind because, we kind of wanted to keep something going there. We got a different experiment going there. And so we started the new one. They moved off. They're in the dimension where it's all happy-go-lucky because they built that one right. We're stuck in the old one where it's still kind of rickety, that one screw that holds the face on the computer is missing. They haven't been able to find it. It rolled under the desk, got caught in the carpet. It's still there. But they have, this is their plan. They've got to build us to the next bigger computer. And Zuckerberg is the reset program that they inserted, 32 years ago. They inserted him and guide him along. He's a little advanced. He's shaky, whatever. I mean, it's a chance when they put him in. They're like, all right, plug in. They've got a little, little flash drive. All right, plug him in. But every time we do this, there's a 60-40. He's going to be a sociopath serial killer, build bombs, or he'll do what we want to do. And we're lucky so far. He's mostly doing what they want him to do to move us into the next simulation.
Mm-hmm. What would it take to close the show out? Tell me right now, what would it take to sell you into a pod in the metaverse?
Ooh, that's a scary thought. I don't know. How many people, how much of your loved ones, your neighbors, your friends, your family choose to go there before you do? If all of us kids went, do you think Dad would stay?
Yeah.
I don't.
I think he would.
I think if you got his grandkids there, he would be gone.
Oy. Yeah, if my grandkids went, it would be tough.
That's the thing.
I don't know. I don't know what it would take for me.
And at first, they would have people who signed up permanently, but they would still have those meeting spaces, so you could pop in once in a while and meet with them.
And then those would go away.
But no, not just
to
that.
Persuade you.
You would see
how wonderful it is.
How wonderful you would see Oz.
Yeah.
They would have little short dudes singing Lollipop Guild.
Release the wolves.
And then it would be...
Although, if you release the wolves right now, with this weak society we live in, everyone would sign up for the metaverse.
I don't know. I'd kind of like to hunt wolves.
Except for you.
But that's what I'm saying is it's going to start out with just a visit,
Well, and then
a pop-in visit, and then people will be offered. Like, what if you lose your job? You lose your job. Like, let's say your job becomes non-existent, and you're 45. You're a little too late to start a new career. There's, there, and then they say, look, we've got this, and you've got a house. You sell your house. What if they give you a number for you to sign up into it, where you can finish out your life. All your friends can still come and visit at first, and then your job. You've lost your job. You're standing on the verge of homelessness. Whatever else. Your house is in foreclosure, and they say, all right, just sell all the stuff you own. You don't need to keep anything. And we've got this pod.
We provide it all for you.
And look what else we can do. And they pull up your Facebook, obviously. And they say, we're going to scroll back. Here you are. This is what you looked like 20 years ago. How'd you feel back then? How was life, before the divorce and before your kid, became whatever else, and before whatever other, before you lost your parents, and life as it does kind of worked you over. This is where you'll be again. You get a reset here.
See, and the problem with this whole...
Your body will carry on. Your body will age. Your body will die. And it will happen as a surprise, but your perception of all that will be none.
They induce dementia. Dementia-verse.
Yeah, President verse.
So,
Let's go Brandon verse.
Let's go Brandon verse. They would only have to do it with a certain number of people, because imagine if half your, let's say 1/3 of the city you currently live in, those houses became empty, and then it became like the slums, and then businesses moved out. It would eventually get to be where people were like begging to go to the metaverse.
Yeah.
To get away from the crime and poverty and
food shortages.
Yeah, that's happening here.
Water's tough,
and that is not a big shift required.
I'm getting old and fat, and it's harder for me to find a date, whatever.
Oi. Okay.
And then they say, look, we have, like, you go in there and it's got this package where in there you order beer, you taste beer, you even get inebriated.
Yeah. There's powerful connections between what we perceive and what we feel. Powerful connections.
You can eat as much pie as you want today. You're not going to be sick after. You're not going to gain weight. Is there a food you're allergic to that you love? It's yours. Have it back.
If you're diabetic, here,
yeah,
in the metaverse, everything tastes like whatever.
What if, horrible car accident, you're the drummer of a popular 80s band, and you pop in there, and you got both arms.
Yeah.
All
Oh. right.
Yes. All right.
That's the show, folks, and we're sorry for the nightmares. I'm telling you, this could go a million ways, but it all starts with data.
Yep. Good old data.
Damn you, data. Let's release the wolves where he's at.
I am a real human. Won't you love
Blink twice.
That'd be funny if you actually met him and it was all
I knew it. Oh.
But anyways, he wakes up and hits the joints with some lubricant. Anyways, yeah. So that's some scary thoughts right there. We are standing on the precipice, possibly standing.
We are
on the precipice.
We're marching
Gosh.
quite happily towards it as a society.
I think that
Some of society is skipping. Yay, new VR.
we are. World's moving fast,
It's
and
happening.
maybe it's just that we're old.
Oh, it could be.
You know, like maybe this
Damn
news.
these whippersnappers.
There might be some kids listening to this right now. It's like, hell yeah.
I know.
That's what else would we do with it?
I'm gonna call Sean after this.
Yeah, yeah.
Give us your opinion, Sean. Be like, I'd sign up tomorrow.
He probably would. He probably would. I mean, yeah, this is interesting stuff. But anyways, thanks for joining us.
Try to have a great week.
Yeah, no, it's been an okay week. It's been pretty good. The temperature's turning cold. That's not fun.
Yeah, try to after listening to this. Just try to put it out of your mind. You can't stop it. You can't.
Too many people are jumping in on it.
Yeah. Can't
It's
stop
gonna
it.
happen.
You're either going to be a part of the wave or you're going to be in the destruction left behind when the wave rolls back out.
Yeah. Yeah, you can ride the wave or cruise out on the riptide.
That's right.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for joining, and we will see you next week. Okay, I know the days are getting goofy. Betsy got her job. I'm starting, but I think next week we can plan on doing it. We'll plan on tentatively for Friday, and that depends on what Betsy's schedule looks like. And so it'll probably be Friday, a little later than we usually did. We can probably think about 2:30, 3 o'clock ish.